Toastmaster. I am going to tell you a story today, but it's not just one story. It's actually many stories within a story. And this is about my sister Roxanne. So last summer when I was in Indiana at her daughter's wedding, I had an opportunity to dance with her husband, Lee. And as I was dancing with Lee, I said, "Lee, what's your advice for your new son-in-law?" And Lee said, "Well, that's easy. Tell him just one. If she ever asks for another one, say no, just one." Well, he wasn't talking about husbands or children, but rather cats. So let's rewind. Back in 1994, when Julie, their daughter, was in high school, one of her friends had a litter of kittens that they were trying to get rid of, and Julie wanted a kitten. So Roxanne and Julie go over to the house, and by the time they had gotten there, the family had turned the kittens into an organization called Pet Refuge. Well, Pet Refuge, this is in Indiana, South Bend, Mishawaka area, is a nonprofit, no-kill animal shelter. So they rely almost completely on volunteers who foster the animals in their homes until they can have an adopted home. So Roxanne and Julie went to this home and saw these kittens. And when Roxanne met Sandy, who was a foster, she thought, I could do that. So Roxanne goes down to Pet Refuge and signs up to be a foster. And the very first cat that she received to foster was a big Maine Coon black and white tomcat, unneutered. Had been in some kind of fight, had this huge abscess on his tail, and she takes him to the vet and they had to amputate his tail because it had gangrene. So they had shaved his whole back end. He was quite a sight, but Roxanne nursed him back to health. And speaking of nursing, she happens to be a pediatric nurse, which makes her even more qualified for this particular task of being a foster. So she gets 2 cats maybe the next time, and then 3 cats the next time, and she makes a little place for them out in her sunroom. And then she might get another cat with 5 or 6 babies. So she makes more places for cats in the laundry room. And then when the number started to reach about 15 cats, Lee said, "No more, stop. No more strangers in the house, no more cats." But he decides to build her a shelter outside in addition to the garage. So now they have this wonderful shelter. He built it in around 2002. And you walk into the shelter, and the first area is where Roxanne treats the animals when they first come in. And then there's a little infirmary room for isolation and sick kitties. There's a nursery for mamas with their babies. And then there's this living room with couches, toys, special little cat sit places. The radio's always on, and that's where you can go and play with the cats. So there's volunteers that come to the little shelter and go in and play with the cats, because Roxanne gets all kinds of cats, and they all have stories. So let's see. She has a little card file like this, and she'll have a little index card on each cat. Let's try this one. Tumbleweed. Tumbleweed is a very special needs cat because he happens to have cerebellar hypoplasia. I wanted to call it cerebral palsy, but I guess it's not quite cerebral palsy. But this little kitty can't walk, so he just sort of scoots around. But he's the happiest little kitty. You play with him, he rolls over and he gets all excited, and he's a very loving cat. He might be a permanent foster at her place, which some of them get that status. And he's just the most special little kitty. All right, let's try this one. Harvey. Harvey, was a long white-haired cat, like Harvey the rabbit. And his owner thought so much of Roxanne and what she did that she left in her will that if she died before her cat, that her cat would stay at Roxanne's until he died. And of course left funds to support that. Okay, here's another one, California Girl. You've all heard of, let me back up just a minute. Roxanne gets this nice big cat. And it was because the fellow who had it got caught in his apartment. He wasn't supposed to have cats. So he had to turn it over. And he had heard about Pet Refuge. Well, the first thing Roxanne does is scan a cat to see if it has a microchip. And microchips are the little identifiers underneath the skin. Turns out it had a microchip, address of a family in California. Roxanne calls them. And the story was that the daughter came to school in South Bend at St. Mary's College, and the cat got out of her apartment, went through the window. And so, like, this was like 2 or 3 months ago. And so Roxanne was able to connect the kitty and the owner. So you see, it's not just about cats, it's also about the people. And the people with their animals and their pets. And it's just such a special, special thing. Seinfeld is who we're going to see on my little video. I couldn't resist y'all doing a video because you just can't get the feeling of this until you see what's happening here.
Oh, there's. Oh, perfect.
He's snobby. Look at how pretty his coat is.
He's snobby. He's like, I have hot stuff.
See his little paws too? He's got this hair that comes off.
Oh, God. Well, Roxanne will fix him up.
It'll make it feel better. I have one.
It's okay.
This is the one the guy found in the middle of the road.
Did you need more of a drink? I'm sorry, I turned it off.
Just one little kitty or
No,
the
there
whole
was
box?
there was actually 4. He was coming home from work and there was a box in the middle of the road on Adams Road. Yeah, so I think he's like a flame point because the others are. Do you have blue eyes? Yep, you have blue eyes. Here you go.
Look at you. Oh, you gonna nibble on me? I know. What was that?
It's the ionized water that helps clean things off. Helps prevent infections.
I know. Nobody likes having their face washed. Eye drops.
Eye drops.
Good kitty. Are you a little boy?
Very lucky little boy. And 2.8.
2.8. Oh, I was off.
Okay. Yeah, I know, but your vein doesn't move. What was that? I missed that.
That was a dewormer. So these all need names if anybody's good at names. He needs
Oh.
a name.
See, Mom, look at this one's eye. To the right.
Oh.
But look how sweet. That's him purring. Listen to him. Put your ear down there.
Oh my.
See? He's so sweet. He must have had something happen to him on this side because his ear's messed up.
This is the one that I want.
Yours are good. Oh, isn't he pretty? Or she? Is it a she?
Yeah.
Is that the one you were showing me earlier?
No, this is the one that I've picked. Listen to him. Show your pretty face.
You are a pretty girl.
Can I pick you up, big kitty? Big kitty.
Oh my goodness.
Let's stomach his joke. Mom, which one should I take back for next year?
Over 1,500 cats is what I figured. So she is just amazing, and every time we go there, we're just fascinated by the time that she puts in. She gets up like at 5 o'clock in the morning and has to scoop poop for all these animals for like 2 hours, and then she's doing the same thing at night, checking each one, taking care of them, giving this personal care, and then the adoption that goes on when people come and want to pick out a cat. So every time we go, I don't know if you heard my daughter in there, this is one I picked out. And then at the end, Mom, which one should I pick for next year? At one point, this last winter when we were there, we were going to come home with 3 cats. It's so addicting when you get in there. And we are in 4 people in a Passat traveling from South Bend to North Carolina for 14 hours. We were crazy. We didn't do it, thank goodness. Anyhow, thank you very much. This is a cornucopia of cats, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to tell my story about Roxanne.